In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to actually install WordPress onto your web hosting server. And since there's so many different methods, I'm going to be first talking about actually the different types of methods, and then I'm actually going to show you how to manually install it using one of these tools called the WP Quick Install. So there's many different methods that we can actually utilize to install WordPress. The first two being one-click quick install and Softaculous. They both pretty much work the same way, where it's an automatic install of WordPress. And this is highly dependent on the hosting server that you use or the hosting company that you use. And it's very automatic. So you literally just click on it and WordPress will be installed for you. And so I'm not actually going to show you how to do those because they're very intuitive to do. This is really if you don't have access to these tools, you're going to be doing one of two things. You're either going to be using FTP and actually manually uploading the WordPress files, or there's another tool that I really like. It's actually a new tool where you're going to be utilizing FTP and something called the WP Quick Install tool. And all these methods are absolutely free. So before we actually get started installing WordPress manually, what are we actually going to be needing? First off, we're going to be needing a database and MySQL user, and we're actually going to be creating that for you. Second is going to be, we need access to our FTP client. And finally, we're going to be needing this WP Quick Install tool. It's going to be absolutely free to download. So put very simply, databases are what organize our website. And so we're actually going to be needing to create a new database for each website that we create, adding a new MySQL user that has access to this database. So inevitably we need to assign this user to the database. And it may sound kind of complicated, but I'll show you how to do it very quickly. So I'm using a hosting company that has access to a cpanel and has access to this thing called a MySQL databases. So you're just going to click on this and it's going to allow us to actually create a new database. And so in order to actually create the new database, we're going to find this create new database section and we're just going to type in the name of whatever we want our database to be called. So once we've actually created this new database, we'll notice that there's no user that's attached to it. So all we're going to do is create a username and password and make sure to hold on to this information. This username and password are going to be useful when we're actually installing WordPress. Finally, once we've actually created the user, we're going to notice that it still isn't actually assigned. We have a user, we have a database. All we have to do is now add this user to that specific database. So we're just going to click add. Finally, we'll see that the user is in fact assigned to this database, and remember to just hold on to that username and the password that we originally created. So now that we actually successfully created this database, all we're going to need to do now is actually install the WP Quick Install tool. So the WP Quick Install tool can be found at wp-quick-install.com, and you're just going to download it right here. And finally, once we've actually installed the WP Quick Install tool and put it onto our desktop, now we just need access to the FTP client. And so I'm going to be using FileZilla, but you can use any FTP client that you want. Most of them are going to be free, and all you're going to need is a host name, port, username, and password. And this username and password are not going to be the same as what we just used for the database. When we created the database, that's a separate username and password. So ask your host if you don't know how to access your FTP client. And so once we actually logged into our FTP client, we're going to see something like this, which is a bunch of folders for our web server. Right? So the one that's important for us is going to be the public_HTML. It's going to be where we're actually going to be uploading all the files to our website. And so as you notice, I have a WP Quick Install tool saved on the desktop. All we're going to do is drag and drop in. And the reason why I'm using the WP Quick Install tool is because it's very small. So it's going to be very quick to actually upload. And once the WP Quick Install tool has actually installed, what we're going to do is go to our website and we'll see something like this. We'll see that there's only the WP Quick Install folder, and we're just going to click on that. So what we're going to see here are a bunch of different options where we're going to have to enter in a few important details, some that are going to be optional, some that are going to be required. The first being our database name and our username. Remember when we created our database, I told you to hold on to that information, and that was this right here, our database name and our username. And the password was whatever you made when you created this username. Everything else can kind of stay standard. It's all fairly standard information. All we're going to need to do now is actually add a username, and this is going to be the username or the admin username for WordPress when we actually need to log into WordPress. So we're going to enter in a username right here. We're going to put in some type of password, and also an email just in case we forget our password. And the rest of the information here is all just customized for your own flexibility. If you want to add in a certain theme, certain plugins, change the media settings, things like that, that's what makes this tool very, very useful because it's very simple to use. It allows you to customize things right off the bat in a very easy one-page interface. So once we've actually entered in the important information, all we're going to do is click Install WordPress. So WordPress has successfully been installed, and it says to not forget to delete the WP Quick Install folder, so I'll show you how to do that in a second. But we can just click on the login or go to website, and we'll see that our website looks something like this, the basic WordPress install. When we click on login, we're going to see something like this, and in fact, since we see the WordPress logo, we know that WordPress has successfully installed. So we're just going to enter in our username and password that we just made, and we're just going to be able to log in right here. So now when we go back to our FTP account and we refresh it, we're going to see that now we have a bunch of files, and these are all going to be WordPress files. So I'll remember it told us to delete the WP Quick Install folder, and this is kind of just to save space, and we can just delete it right now.